everyone. Today we are talking about science notebooks with Seesaw. I'm Angela from the Seesaw team, and we are thrilled that you are joining us here today. We have amazing hosts today. Kelly Hudson is a science teacher that has so many amazing ideas for using Seesaw in her classroom daily to really use as a science notebook. So Kelly, welcome. We are so glad to have you here today.
Thank you. My name is Kelly Hudson, and as Angela said, I teach science to 2nd through 5th grade students. I'm really excited to be here. Today I'm going to talk to you how I use science notebooks in a typical day in science, the organization and workflow of my notebooks, and then making science connections outside of the classroom, and how I use Seesaw within the notebooks for communication. So I'm really excited. This is a picture of my classroom. My curriculum for science is all hands-on. It is inquiry-based. I really focus on science process skills and teaching those 21st century skills. Science and technology are my passion. So this is just the perfect way for me to explain to you how much I love Seesaw. 3 years ago, I started searching for a way to replace my paper notebooks. Our school was already a one-to-one iPad school, but the notebooks and the technology were separate. Our students keep their iPads here at school, so the parents weren't seeing everything that we were doing. So I really went on a quest to find one app that would be perfect for science to document our learning using the technology. In my classroom, the 21st century skills like collaboration and creativity and critical thinking and communication, those things were already happening. But what I found was the paper notebooks, the students were not really getting a choice in how they were demonstrating their learning, and we weren't really taking advantage of the technology that we already had. So using Seesaw has given my students a voice. It's really allowed them to take responsibility for their learning, as they have now an authentic audience for every science video that they create. So a typical day in science. I teach, as I said, 2nd through 5th grade. Our 2nd graders only come to science one time a week. It is a double period. And that for 2nd and 3rd grade, it is all Seesaw activities based. So I've made an activity, as you can see down here, for every activity that we do. So a typical science class would have the students coming in, a 5-minute introduction to an activity, and then 55 minutes usually to do those hands-on activities. The activity that I'm going to show you here is we use Lego We Do. And this was something that was amazing that was happening in the classroom, and the parents really couldn't see it. And even the groups who are working on this, they didn't get to see each other's. So with Seesaw, as the students, after they've gone through the challenge, then they're creating these videos. So this is a student example of using Lego We Do.
Today in science class, we did an experiment on Legos. Our experiment was to make a Milo move. Here was a picture of our Milo. Here's a video of our Milo moving 1 meter in.
So it's really important to note that this is not the portfolio that is their best work. This is everyday science. And I think that that's really important to note the difference. The parents are super excited about this because they are actually getting to see science. They're getting to see those STEM activities that they couldn't really visualize everything that was happening in the classroom until we had Seesaw. So it's really been an amazing way for parents to be involved in using Seesaw. So when we do this with the notebooks, I can see who has posted. This is at the beginning of the year. It's really important that when you're thinking about using Seesaw as your science notebook, that you're still doing the same curriculum. You still have the same goals and outcomes and skills that you want the students to have, but figuring out how you want to organize that. So just as if you had a paper notebook or a packet or however you do science, a workbook, the students are just demonstrating it in a different way. So this little video shows you at the beginning of the year, we're learning about rocks, but really what we're learning is how to be a scientist, how to make those observations and describe properties and measuring. So this is one child's journal. As we're seeing, they're learning how to measure, they're learning how to find the mass, they're finding circumference, they're finding the volume of the rock. Then they turned their rock into a selfie. It says, "My rock takes a selfie." So all of those skills that you would normally be doing in science, the parents are getting to see that. Their peers are getting to see those videos, and they're able to comment. So I really think that by using Seesaw with science, you really have changed the fact of the students are really actively engaged. The other thing that has really helped with Seesaw is we do an environmental unit in every grade. But Seesaw has really given the children an audience that they're actually teaching their parents all about environmental issues. We've talked a lot, I mean, every class and every grade learns about butterfly metamorphosis. But we actually, this year, we planted a butterfly garden, and this is an ecosystem that we have here at our school, and the parents are getting to see the children actually actively engaged, going out to the butterfly garden, being real scientists. They are documenting their own learning. So this is one where we went out to our butterfly garden, and the child was able to see actual, I'm going to just skip through this so you can actually see. She's showing here when she circles this, the egg on the bottom of the leaf, and then the actual larvae that we saw outside, and they're eating the leaves. Then we brought in one of our big monarch butterfly larvae. We saw that a pupa went outside, and then they make that traditional model of metamorphosis. But the parents actually get to see the learning in this way that just makes learning come alive. So with every unit that we do, the children with every activity make an upload for their notebook. In 4th and 5th grade, so I am strictly a science teacher. My background is science and technology. And in 4th and 5th grade, we are departmentalized, which means that the students switch classes every 42 minutes. So at the beginning of class, there's a 5-minute introduction or a mini lesson, followed by the 20-minute hands-on. So this is what my classroom looks like as the children are documenting their learning prior to making their upload for Seesaw. Oops, sorry about that. Try that again. So in this video, you can see the excitement, but you can also see that as they're doing this activity, one person in the group is documenting the learning with their iPad. And then they have 15 minutes at the end of class in order to document their learning and to describe what they've learned. Now, I also have a paper notebook in addition to our digital notebook on Seesaw. I switched in 4th and 5th grade before activities existed, but in addition to that, we don't really have a notebook. Our curriculum is based on the standards and science process skills, and it was all created specifically for our school. So we're giving a lot of content in this. My goal is this summer, though, to make a Seesaw activity for each of the activities that we do in science. I've linked this here if you want to click on it to see the link later. But basically what this is doing is walking them through the hands-on activity. For this upload, it says that they can use the app of their choice. I always have a section that has the required content in the video and then the required vocabulary words. So keeping that same science. Always I tell them what the required content is, the vocabulary words, and the time limit is 1 minute. So then they're using all of the pictures and videos that they documented. So this is the activity that was in that video where they were proving that gases are matter. That's what they were doing in that video. They were blowing up the balloon that had gas in it, and then they were proving that it has matter. So instead of just telling them that definition, they're having to prove it. So by giving them the choice of their app, really gets them excited. At the beginning of the year, as we learn each app, so we start with Seesaw, then we move to Shadow Puppet. We also use Explain Everything, iMovie, Book Creator, and Pic Collage. And as the students, once they're familiar with how to use each app, then they really can figure out which is the best app to use for the particular activity. So not only so this one is made with Shadow Puppet, and at the beginning of the year, I demonstrate how Shadow Puppet works. But I don't just demonstrate how to use the app. I am modeling how to organize the pictures, how to think about, should the sound be on in the video? Should the sound be off in the video that you bring in? Should I make my thinking visible as I'm planning it and I'm projecting it so they can see that? I'm also modeling how I would record it and trying to stay in that 1 minute time frame, but they're getting to see how even a teacher, it might take me 3 attempts to really explain well the activity. So in this video that I'm going to share with you,
today,
this is where they're proving,
because volume is something that takes up space. So we did that by using a tape measure to measure the circumference.
So she's going on to prove what she did and how she went about proving that the gases take up space by finding the circumference, then finding the mass, and describing the properties. So she's building that knowledge and then demonstrating it with the app of her choice. Another one of our ecosystems that we have right here, we're on a barrier island. So we do a lot of things outside with sea turtles and dolphins and manatees. We are right on the Atlantic Ocean, and so and loggerheads are very common here on our beaches. So we're learning a lot of environmental science. One of the things that we do, in addition to having sometimes having the choice of the apps, or a lot of times, sometimes I do give them a specific app to use. So here they're going to use Shadow Puppet, but you'll see in this video, they're also doing some app smashing because they're using another app in order to label their pictures. It might be going in and using the tools in Photos, but they might take this into a picture into Explain Everything or Pic Collage, label it, and then bring it into Shadow Puppet. And they're really learning how to...
Today in science, we are learning about sea turtles, and we're going to learn about their life cycle, a part of it, when they're giving birth, and using a model nest of sand. Here you can see the turtle coming up, making its body pit. Here you can see the egg chamber. It's dug out with its behind flippers. Here you can see the
So as you can see here, they're taking still pictures they've labeled, videos. They're having to figure out how to organize it, practicing those communication skills, and then tying that science in and making sure they are meeting the requirements. One of the things that I do when I have the required content in their notebook, I always use bullets, and then the children check off what they're doing. Again, if that was in an activity on Seesaw, it would be the same concept, putting in the required content that you want them, because you want them to be successful. So not all activities can be finished in one period. So on typical days, I was saying that they make a Seesaw upload every day. However, when we're conducting experiments, that can take anywhere from 1 to 5 days. The students will then, at the end of that full experiment, this might be a mini science fair experiment or a full experiment, they are doing this on paper. We're really preparing them for middle and high school, so learning how to do lab reports, and then also how to use evidence in order to support their thinking. So I'm not going to play this whole video for you, but I want you to give you an idea that in some of the activities, they're actually taking pictures of their writing, and then she's explaining the research, her hypothesis, variables, going on to do the actual experiment where she's bringing in videos to show what happened. And as they change the amount of vinegar, measuring the volume, they have their data tables, observations, graph, and conclusion. So they're really getting those oral speaking skills. That's really important, but they're also learning how to do what would be age-appropriate lab reports for science experiments. So organization and workflow. When you're thinking about doing your science notebook, it's important to think about how are you going to organize it. In the past, when I had paper folders, they were still in folders. So on Seesaw, I have folders. So far this year with 4th grade, we have done our Sea Turtle unit, science skills, matter, and science fair. Each unit that we do has 20 uploads. I stayed with that same format that I had used before Seesaw. Every paper folder had 20 activities in it, and they each were in their own folder, and just like Seesaw, they can sort by their folders, and it's organized, which really will help. It really makes a difference. With my 4th and 5th graders, as I haven't made an activity yet, they have to label each upload that they're doing, and they have to make sure it goes into the correct folder. I also, every single upload that they do is graded, so they'll see my comment there at the bottom. They're also getting comments for their peers because it is open and they do comment on each other's work. I grade each upload with 5 points. It's how I graded the paper notebook. So each notebook is worth 100 points. I don't write the points on Seesaw, I just write the comments. So I have a grading rubric that goes back and forth between the students. One of the things in really managing my time and their time, teaching them how to be concise, is really sticking with that 1 minute time frame. One of the most amazing things that came out of using Seesaw is our digital study guide. So with every unit in the past, I would make videos like with Explain Everything or another screencasting app, and kind of like that flipped classroom concept. After a hands-on activity, I would post a video on our webpage so that the children would have something to go back to if they needed to review, if they'd been absent, if a tutor needed to see it. But what I found is the videos that the students create and upload to Seesaw are way more creative and way more in tune with the students, that now they're creating those and they're helping each other learn. So with Seesaw, we've really gone with this. We are a community of learners and we're really going to help each other. So we have study hall 3 days a week. So on those days, I assign them, it's called Watch, Comment, and Correct. So the first week, we've completed 3 uploads. I would say watch, comment, and correct Seesaw uploads 1 through 3. Everyone would go to Peter's turtle characteristics video and watch it, make a comment on it, and then correct their own number 1 video if they needed to. This is where we're really getting in that digital citizenship. It's really making those children who get celebrated feel really good about themselves. And then I really work to make sure that every single child in the class is on the study guide 1 time for each unit. It really helps if they're absent. And so this has just become an invaluable tool that the students use and that I can offer as a way of helping them out. So another one of the most amazing, impactful things with science is I've always struggled with how to get students to make connections at home and to do things at home. So now I have something called Selfie Sciences. So with the Selfie Sciences, I'm encouraging children from home to sign in. We have Google Sign In, and giving them enrichment opportunities or extra credit work, however you want to think about it, in order to earn points. I said that their notebook is worth 100 points. For every Selfie science that they do at home, they can earn a point. So you can see here this person did 22 items. That means they did 2 Selfie sciences. So in activities, and there is, in a few minutes, you'll see the link to my activity library. I have this. So as we're learning about matter, they can do a solid, liquid, and gas scavenger hunt and go around their house and find solids, liquids, and gases. So here's an example of an activity that someone did from home in order to make those connections and earn some extra credit points. Oops.
I went on a scavenger hunt for gases, solids, and liquids.
So at first, when I started this, I decided, oh, I'm only going to let them earn 5 extra points. But what happened is I was seeing these amazing things that were happening at home and their creativity that I wanted them doing more of them. So I added on that they could do up to 10. Not everyone participates in this, but the children who do and the families who get involved in this, I mean, I have people, driving an hour away to go to a sea turtle hospital and to really look at ways on the weekend that they can extend science. During our sea turtle unit with 4th grade, a few years ago, I went to Cuba on a sea turtle volunteer trip. And so I told my story on Seesaw that they could watch. I find that at the beginning of every unit, everyone wants to share their own story. And you don't always have time for every single person to get to that amount of time that they want to share. So now I have Selfie Sciences where they get to tell their story in their own voice. The other children love hearing these. They love seeing those connections. So here is one child's experience with sea turtles. Oops. Sorry about that. I keep doing that.
Today I'm going to be telling you my turtle story, experience. So I was getting back from New York and my grandma texted to my dad that there was a huge sea turtle in the sand on the beach laying eggs. And when I got there, it was huge and we took pictures, but we couldn't go close to it because it's a sea turtle. And it's laying eggs and we don't want to disturb it.
So to me, this is invaluable. Having a child make that connection between what we're doing at home and school is just amazing. So I have a link here to my activities that I have made in Seesaw. One of my goals this summer is to transfer all of the 4th and 5th grade and make an activity for that. Also to continue creating Selfie Sciences for the students. And I also want to start making up activities and kits that where if a child has free time, they could check out a kit in order to do a hands-on activity that would be in addition to what we do in our classroom. So communication, we've had some very exciting things happening at our school this year. And sometimes I'll use announcements in Seesaw, but if I want it to stay with their journal, then I post it to their journal. So this year we had eggs in our incubator. Again, we do this and as part of our 2nd grade living things. But this year we decided that we were going to keep the chicks and have a chicken coop out on our playground, well, on the field, so that the children could do this. And then this year over spring break, we had our first egg hatch. So the children, of course, happened on spring break. They were not at school. So I was able to post this to Seesaw to get all of the families involved in knowing that there were actually eggs being laid. So I post that directly to their journal when I want it to stay in their journal. And then I use announcements when it's just a general announcement. One of the other things that we've done is since using Seesaw, when we go on field trips, we post videos or pictures when we arrive and then photos of the field trip. This was a 3-day field trip. So again, this was it was part of our curriculum. We went to Marine Lab in the Florida Keys. And so I want those students to have those pictures and those memories. So these things are posted into their actual journal. We also put in our expected arrival time. So rather than having a bunch of different places, the parents can just go to Seesaw. I've also started doing, as the children, they can see everyone in their class's Seesaw uploads, but they can't see the uploads from other classes. So as the fourth graders make their sea turtle, we make public awareness posters to hang throughout our school and our community at the end of the unit, and then we put the QR codes on so they can hear the students reading them. Our second graders, this is a second grader here, they make manatee public awareness posters. So the fourth graders go over to the second grade lockers and watch their posters, and the second graders come to the fourth grade posters, and they're getting to see the different levels of how we're using Seesaw, and they get really excited to see all of the different uploads throughout the school. I've also started doing, this is Scan for Super Science, and I'm choosing themes. So these uploads that I posted are from grades 2nd through 5th grade, and it was all on our environmental. We were all doing environmental units at the same time. I've also done this for STEM, so that the 4th graders, as they're doing some electricity STEM activities, the 2nd graders might be using Legos and just bringing it all together so that they're seeing that continuation of what's happening throughout the school, and they really get to celebrate each other. We also, we had grandparents here for Grandparents' Day, and they were able to go through and see the children's seesaws as well in the hallways. Okay, I think I'm at 30 minutes. Questions, Angela?
You're doing great. Love it. So there's no questions yet, but we will give people a moment to go ahead and type in a question, and we'll spend a couple minutes diving into those. But I'm so glad that Kelly has her info on the screen for you to reach out to her if you have additional questions as well.